The Samsung Galaxy S4, Samsung's flagship Android smartphone for 2013. It packs a quad-core processor, 13-megapixel camera, and a gorgeous 5-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display. But is it worthy enough to stay in your pocket on a 2-year contract? Let's get started. Before starting, I have a few disclaimers to make. Firstly, this was a review unit provided by Vodafone UK, so thanks to them for sending it out. Secondly, I've used the phone for about a month now. Thirdly, since Vodafone haven't rolled out 4G yet, the battery test will be representative of HSPA Plus mixed with Wi-Fi. And lastly, I have the i9 GT model with a quad-core processor. Starting off with the design, the Galaxy S4 mimics the predecessor of the Galaxy S3 somewhat, with the familiar plastic shell with a band around the phone that is plastic but has a nice chrome finish. The front and back bezels have a nice etched pattern as you can see, and the button layout is identical to the Galaxy S3. Do check out my S4 unboxing where I gave a tour around the phone. Now, since the S4 is plastic, build quality will be a question for people. Well, the S4 feels better in the hand than the S3 did, less cheap due to that chrome finish band around the phone, but it's still not as premium as something like the HTC One. But this plastic shell does allow for some plus points, which I'll get into later on. The Galaxy S4 I have here packs a 1.9 GHz quad-core processor with 2 GB of RAM, with also an Adreno 320 GPU, which provides great performance in everyday tasks such as browsing the web or media consumption. You can see a screenshot of the quadrant score on your screens now, and for gaming the S4 handled it like a boss. Do check out the gaming test to see for yourselves just how well it fared. Going back to media consumption, the two main things to consider here are the display and the speakers. So let's start with the display. Now the S4 has a stunning 5-inch Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080 pixels. That's 441 pixels per inch for you math whizzes out there. Here I am zooming really closely into text and you can't see any pixels. The text remains crisp and sharp. And for videos the colors are vibrant, and because it's AMOLED the blacks are super black, giving a true cinema style experience when watching back YouTube videos, for example. One downside to AMOLED, however, is the color reproduction isn't always the best, and sometimes pictures didn't look that natural, as you might be able to tell. However, the viewing angles on the Galaxy S4 were really great. As you can hopefully see, even at somewhat extreme angles there are no weird color hues, and you can still make out some of the image. At slight off angles you can see the picture perfectly. As for the speaker, the S4 has a rear facing mono speaker. This was quite loud, but again it sometimes got covered while gaming or playing back media, especially when holding the phone in landscape mode. It would be nice if Samsung implemented dual front facing speakers on their next Galaxy S device, like they have on the Note 10.1 tablet, but that's a side issue. Now let's move on to the camera. As you can see, here I am in the camera application, and you have a good range of modes available for different situations. The only mode I used from this while testing was dual camera, and while I thought it was a bit gimmicky at first, it was a nice way to capture me blowing out the candles on my birthday cake, as you can see. However, here's a drama shot from a friend. It's definitely a cool concept and you can have fun making them very easily. Here's a comparison with night mode on and night mode off. As you might expect, you can tap to change flash settings as well as more advanced settings like white balance. The camera focused fairly quickly and even gave some nice depth of field, as you can see in this picture. Here are some other pictures taken with the camera so you can get an idea of the quality. Overall, I was really impressed with the camera, even though I mostly used it on auto mode. Some of the pictures did have noise in low light, but that's a common occurrence on most smartphone cameras nowadays. Now let's move on to the keyboard. The stock keyboard on the S4 isn't the best. Predictions aren't shown, so it's easy to misspell words, especially if you have big hands. And also, when you hold down the symbol key, you have to tap again to choose the symbol. It doesn't automatically select the comma key like the Google keyboard does. Fortunately, this is Android, and there are a good range of third-party keyboards available. Recently, Google made their own keyboard available in the Play Store, and I've really enjoyed using it. Predictions are not only shown, they're auto-implemented when you press space, making it accurate, and you also have gesture typing, which will make it more efficient for you to type. The Galaxy S4 is running the latest and sweetest iteration of Google's Android operating system, Jelly Bean 4.2.2, right out of the box, with TouchWiz as an overlay. So how is web browsing on the Galaxy S4? Well, what made me really happy initially is that we can now have more than 15 tabs open at one time. 15 was the restriction on the predecessor Galaxy S3, and while this might not be an issue to some of you, to a tabaholic like me, it really was. AirJump allows you to flick between your open tabs. just by waving your hand over the sensor. Do it slowly though, or it might not register the movement. Another gesture-based action comes in air jump. This allows you to scroll through a web page by just gliding your hand across the screen. Sorry if the lighting is a bit bad here, but I did also mention this briefly in my Galaxy S4 first look video. Pinch to zoom was smooth and text remained crisp and sharp as stated before. One final feature on the browser I want to mention is Smart Scroll. After turning this feature on, you simply stare at your phone for a while so that it can register your eyes, and this is signified by the green eye icon. Next, you simply tilt your head up or down depending on which way you want to scroll. It was a bit hard to show this on film since I don't have two cameras, but hopefully you guys get the idea. This feature is nice when it works, but as with some of the other gesture-based features, it sometimes doesn't work and can be quite frustrating. Also, in this case, staring at the phone for too long could hurt your eyes as well. Another major annoyance, at least for me, was Smart Pause. Essentially, Smart Pause detects your eyes, then while playing a video, if you turn your head to the side, the video will automatically pause. The good thing about Smart Pause is that it works with YouTube as well, in contrast to AirView and AirJump, which only work with the stock browser. However, in my experience, I just couldn't get Smart Pause to work. One of my favourite features on the Galaxy S4 during the time I used it was taking advantage of Samsung Watch On to control my TV and Skybox. I thought I'd give you guys a demo of it in action. Here you can see me increasing and decreasing the volume. You can also change the channel as you might expect. Something more interesting comes when you bring up the number pad. At the top you have favourite channels, allowing you quick access to the channels that matter most. To add more channels, it's a simple tap of the plus button and then navigating through the channels available. Now, I mentioned the Skybox, so here you can see me recording a program later on in the day, but if it was a mistake, you can also cancel the recording. You can also set reminders just by using the OK button, and finally you can pause and resume live TV. Again, bear in mind the last features I mentioned are only on set-top boxes that support it. Overall, it was really convenient to use my Galaxy S4 as a remote to control my TV and Skybox, rather than having various remotes. With all these software enhancements that the Galaxy S4 has, you might be concerned about the storage. Well, this is actually a major concern, especially if you're going to purchase the handset, since the 16GB model only gives you just over 9GB of usable memory, as you can see. Samsung have promised to roll out an update which will add app to SD functionality, which at time of recording is only in Germany, but again, some apps might need the internal storage. As I mentioned earlier, the plastic build does have benefits. The main one being that the back cover is removable. Removing the back cover reveals the battery, microSD card slot and a micro SIM slot. The microSD allows you to expand your storage a further 64GB. The storage issue mentioned before wasn't really an issue for me since I only had this phone a short while, but for those of you getting one for 2 years, you should definitely invest in a microSD card. The back cover is also replaceable, meaning that if it gets damaged, you can buy a new one rather than sending off the entire phone for repair. And you can also customize the look of your phone to give it that extra spark. As stated at the beginning, Vodafone haven't rolled out 4G yet, but as you can see, I was getting pretty decent speeds of almost 9 megabytes per second down and almost 2 megabytes per second up on HSPA+, and generally I didn't have any signal problems on the Galaxy S4. Now, the Galaxy S4 is a phone, and so it should make and receive calls. While the call quality on the Galaxy S4 was superb, people said they could hear me clearly, and I could also hear them clearly too. Battery life on the Galaxy S4 was quite impressive. On low to medium usage, I easily got over a day's use out of it. On medium to heavy usage, I got about 9-10 hours of usage in general. A specific case I want to mention is when I was at one of the events that I went to, I had Wi-Fi on continuously for about 4 hours, screen was on for about 3 hours, brightness was about 75%, and I still had 33% of battery. Now, if that was the S3, it would have died long before. The Galaxy S4 battery is also removable, so if you see reduced lifespan after a year or so, you could always buy another one. You really won't have any power problems with the Galaxy S4, and overall I was really impressed with the battery life. There is a bit of lag at times, as I mentioned in my 1 week on video. However, as someone pointed out in the comments, to fix the home button lag, you can simply turn off S-Voice. I didn't really use S-Voice that much, to be honest, and although it does provide some features that Google Now doesn't, at least not yet, I still prefer Google Now. But do have a look at S-Voice since it might simplify your life quite a bit. Two small things I want to mention before rounding up the review. Firstly, just like on the Galaxy S3, you can take screenshots just by sliding your palm across the screen. Secondly, one slight annoyance was that when you install new applications, they go to the last page, meaning that they're not in alphabetical order. You could manually move them to be in the right order or install a custom launcher to fix this issue, but it would be nice if Samsung fixed this on the stock launcher in a software update. In summary, the pros of the Galaxy S4 are a gorgeous 5-inch display, ideal for media consumption and gaming. Samsung Watch On, allowing you to use your phone as a single remote for multiple devices. And while not everyone will agree, the plastic build keeps the device thin and light and allows for expandable storage and a replaceable battery. And finally, the gesture features are nice when they work, which brings us onto the cons. The cons are the gesture features take a while to work and sometimes they don't work at all, which can be quite frustrating. The phone can be quite laggy at times, it's not always a smooth buttery experience, and it might be a bit big for some people. Answering the question at the beginning, the Galaxy S4 is definitely worthy to be in your pocket on a 2-year contract. If you have a Galaxy S3, then you might not find much to upgrade for except a sharper display, better camera and some software enhancements. If build quality and design is your priority, then maybe you should look at rival offerings such as the HTC One. If you still have a Galaxy S2 or a phone from that sort of time frame, then this will definitely be a great upgrade for you. Despite the few cons mentioned, the Galaxy S4 is a true flagship to the Samsung brand, so I wouldn't have a problem recommending it to anyone looking for a new phone. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed watching my review of the Samsung Galaxy S4. I put a lot of time and effort into this and tried a new style, so please do hit that like button, that helps me out a lot. Any feedback is most welcome in the comments below, as this is only my third handset review, following the HTC One S and the Galaxy S2 which I did last year. You can check those videos out as well if you want. Do let me know what you guys thought of the audio quality, as I used the Zoom H1 microphone for the whole of this review. If you enjoyed it, please share it on your social networks, and please do subscribe as I've got more tech videos coming soon. Below the like button in the description there is a playlist of all my Galaxy S4 coverage so far, so do check that out, as well as a written review of the orange flip case that I showed in this review. For desktop users, you can click on your screens now to be taken straight to the playlist. Thank you very much for watching till the end, and I'll see you all in the next video.